Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rory McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. The search for survivors of Monday's earthquakes, which killed over 21,000 people, is still going on in Turkey and in Syria, with hundreds of thousands of people still lacking access to essential services in the freezing temperatures. The World Health Organization has issued a warning about a secondary calamity. Rescue efforts are being hampered by severe weather conditions as well as aftershocks. The crisis is thought to have affected around 13.5 million people. The United Nations has made $25 million available from its emergency budget to assist the humanitarian response. Meanwhile, many individuals have expressed interest in adopting a newborn girl who was born during the earthquake in northwest Syria. Baby Aya, whose name in Arabic means miracle, was still attached to her mother by the umbilical cord when she was rescued. After the earthquake struck the town of Jinderis, her mother, father and all 4 siblings were killed. Now, baby Aya is in the hospital awaiting adoption. With many lives lost and numerous buildings destroyed, including the Latin Cathedral of Iskanderun, Pope Francis has reiterated the Church's support for quake victims in Syria and Turkey. He said this is a time for compassion and solidarity, urging people to unite in our sorrow in order to help those who are suffering. His public statements have been supported by several charitable actions taken by the Church. Catholic Relief Services, the US Catholic Church's overseas relief and development agency, is partnering with Caritas Turkey, Caritas Syria and Caritas Anatolia to shelter displaced victims while ensuring access to food, clean water and hygiene supplies. The Italian Episcopal Conference has called for a national collection to be held in all Italian churches for quake victims. Even in communist China, a strong appeal for prayer and solidarity was launched immediately after the earthquake by the online version of Faith Weekly Jinde, the most widely circulated Catholic bulletin in China. Pope Francis urged medical professionals to never give up as they are serving those who bear the face of Jesus, adding that the Lord is closest to those who are weak. The Holy Father made this exhortation during his Thursday presentation to members of the Medical Division of the Health Pastoral Office of the Diocese of Rome. Pope St. John Paul II established the annual World Day of the Sick, which is observed on February the 11th, on which Christians are asked to especially pray for those who are ill. The Holy Father thanked everyone involved in the healthcare ministry and recalled the message, "Take care of him," from St. Luke's Gospel. The Pope continued by highlighting 3 crucial attitudes for this journey: getting close to those who are suffering, speaking out for those who are suffering in silence, and offering a leaven of charity. On Thursday, the Daniel Ortega regime in Nicaragua deported over 200 political prisoners to the United States. They include recently imprisoned priests and seminarians. According to an appeals court in the country, the deportation was done to preserve peace and national security. At Dulles International Airport, friends and family awaited the arrival of those deported. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the United States welcomed 222 individuals who had been imprisoned by the government of Nicaragua for expressing their fundamental freedoms and who had undergone lengthy, unfair detentions. The group includes Father Oscar Benavidez Davila of the Espiritu Santo Parish in Molokuku, Father Ramiro Reinaldo Tijerino Chavez, rector of the Juan Pablo II University, and Father Jose Luis Diaz Cruz, vicar of the Cathedral of Matagalpa. They are joined by Deacon Raul Antonio Vega Gonzalez and seminarians Darwin Estelin Leiva Mendoza and Melkin Antonio Centeno Sequeira, and the photographer Sergio Jose Cardenas Flores. According to a study by the Catholic Peace Broadcasting Corporation of South Korea, more than 100 priests and nuns were abducted, detained or killed globally in 2022. With the killings of 4 priests last year, Nigeria topped the list as the most dangerous country for Catholic priests. The study makes use of information gathered by Pontifical Aid Foundation Aid to the Church in Need, which tracks Christian persecution around the world. Mexico stood second, with drug cartels killing 3 priests, followed by the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which saw 2 priests shot dead during the same period. Aid to the Church in Need urged all the parties to exercise moderation and avoid hurting clerics who were working in their countries. The study stated that the Pontifical Foundation urges all countries concerned to do all things possible to ensure the safety and freedom of priests, religious sisters, and other pastoral agents. A bill requiring teachers to notify parents if their child is identifying as a gender other than the one that corresponds to their sex was approved by the Virginia House in the United States on Tuesday. The Minor Students Experiencing Gender Incongruence Parental Notification Act was approved by the Chamber in a 50-48 vote. It mandates that anyone employed by a local school board who holds a licence from the State Board of Education as administrative or instructional personnel must inform at least one parent if a student is self-identifying as a gender other than that of their biological sex. The faculty member must inquire if such a parent is aware of the student's mental state and whether the parent desires to get or has already gotten counselling for such a student after learning of the student's supposed gender preferences. In the United States, 4 pro-life activists from Illinois, Michigan and Virginia have filed a lawsuit against the National Archives and Records Administration. They filed a litigation on Wednesday, 2 days after several Catholic students and chaperones from South Carolina filed a lawsuit against the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum for telling them to take off their pro-life beanies before entering. The 4 activists filed a litigation in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. They filed the lawsuit after they were told by security guards during a January the 20th visit to remove or cover up their pro-life badges, beanies, t-shirts and sweatshirts. They accused the federal institution of flouting the First and Fifth Amendments and the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Father Sean Goch, a British Catholic priest, was interrogated and charged for praying and holding a sign with a message that said "praying for free speech" outside an abortion clinic in Birmingham. The priest was charged under the Public Spaces Protection Order that bans prayer and other pro-life campaigns outside abortion clinics. According to legal advocacy group Alliance Defending Freedom, the charges were later dropped by the authorities. The priest asked how it can be a crime for a priest to pray silently. Jeremiah Igunubole, a legal counsel for ADF UK, expressed concern over the incident, saying that this case demonstrates the far-reaching and illiberal consequences of so-called buffer zones around abortion clinics. The group has also announced that they will write to Home Secretary Suella Braverman to urge her to oppose any attempts to enact censorship zones. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, demonstrators laid siege to United Nations stabilization mission near Goma, resulting in 8 civilians dying and 28 getting hurt. According to the United Nations, the protesters died during a violent attack on its convoy, which was travelling to Goma and was being protected by the Congolese military. Their statement added that the assailants set fire to 4 trucks and looted the cargo. The UN mission said that an investigation will determine the circumstances of the deaths. Tensions between the Congolese population and UN troops have been simmering for some time over the manner in which troops operate in the country. During this weekend, Brazil will witness the 15th national pilgrimage of the Rosary of Men at the famous Marian sanctuary of Our Lady of Aparecida. More than 100,000 pilgrims are slated to take part in this mammoth event. This is being organised by the Turkey and Men's movement. According to its organisers, the pilgrimage offers men from across the country a chance to become better fathers, husbands, employers, and above all, better Christians. According to Professor Tarcísio Cardoso Brito of the Turkey and Men's, this pilgrimage is the biggest of its kind at the Marian Sanctuary. The theme of this year's pilgrimage is Vocations for the Church. Men who take part in Holy Mass at the shrine and pray the Rosary publicly will especially pray for an increase in vocations in Brazil and elsewhere. On Thursday, an earthquake struck Papua, Indonesia's furthest eastern state, killing 4 people who were trapped. According to the US Geological Survey, the 5.1 magnitude earthquake that struck Jayapura, close to Papua's northern shore, was centred at a depth of 22 kilometres. The 4 people who died were inside a floating restaurant when the quake caused it to collapse into the sea. Reports of further damage are awaited. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again next time for more. And do remember, in the meantime, you can always visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.